That saves billions of gallons of gasoline. I mean, billions of I think it's $2.3 billion worth of, $500 billion in savings and 2-point-something billion metric tons of.
So Joe Biden did not look good in CNN's climate town hall. If you watched it and you watched maybe some of the other candidates who were on stage, like Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren, it was obvious that Joe Biden just cannot compete. I mean, there is this phony idea that, oh, he's the most electable. But those same polls also show Bernie Sanders just as electable as Joe Biden. And Bernie Sanders has incredibly strong numbers in swing states that Hillary Clinton lost to Donald Trump. Many of those states Bernie Sanders won in the Democratic primary. So before we even get to the video here, put together by Walker Bregman, you have to inform your friends and family. This man, Joe Biden, is not electable. He is going to continue to lose support, much like Hillary Clinton did. Joe Biden does not excite the Democratic Party base. Bernie Sanders does. And that was the biggest issue with Hillary Clinton in 2016. Many polls at this time in 2016 or 2015 also showed Hillary Clinton would defeat any GOP candidate, including Donald Trump, just completely destroy them. But she lost. Because as it went on, it was obvious that regardless of whatever Trump does, his base will come out and vote. But when it comes to the Democratic Party base, they will not come out and vote for just anybody. You have to actually excite the base. Joe Biden puts people to sleep. And he himself was asleep during this town hall. So let me show you this series of clips. Again, this is put together by Walker Bregman. He's a fantastic follow on Twitter. Check him out. But this sort of sums up what Joe Biden, how Joe Biden performed during this town hall.
There's a lot we have to do by 2030 just to set in place a set of institutional structures that mean you can't turn it around like this president has done the few things that were, in fact, in place. I've been involved in everything from making sure we go with back in the 90s. Everything I've done has been done to take on the polluters. And I was the one that suggested to the President Obama, I don't want to confuse presidents here.
He currently supports Senator Bernie Sanders, but you could change his mind tonight. Who knows, Isaac?
It doesn't look like I'd do that. I've also been one of those people who, when I was chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, got involved in plans to be able to join people together in order to take on these corporate interests. I would see to it immediately moving toward, we're in fact in a position now that if in fact we dealt with mitigation across the board, just what we did in the last administration and before, leading to a standard that we provide efficiency for appliances. That saves billions of gallons of gasoline. I mean, billions of $2.3 billion worth of, $500 billion in savings and 2-point-something billion metric tons of CO2 going in the air. No one can any longer. I remember when I introduced that bill back in 1986, they said, what the hell are you talking about, Biden? It doesn't talk about the 85% of the rest of the world that is, in fact, we could do, we're not, we have to, but we could do everything perfectly well.
Should the U.S. ban fossil fuel exports, as some other candidates are calling for?
Well, I think we should, in fact, depending on what it is they're exporting for, what they're replacing. Everything is incremental. You're not just like, we set out the rules for what kind of plant, coal burning plants. We know what's going to happen if we don't make significant change. And so what we're telling people, don't build in these places here.
But what about the people that are already there?
The people who are already there are going to be in real trouble. And so there's a whole range of things that are going on now in terms of, anyway, I'm taking too long. Sorry.
Okay. And that didn't even do it justice. I mean, if you watch the whole thing, Joe Biden's answers were not good. He has a horrible climate plan, if one at all. He doesn't even want to ban fracking. I mean, you're talking about somebody who is so completely out of touch. And in addition to being completely out of touch, in addition to his platform being inadequate, he himself is losing it. I mean, I'm trying to find a nice way to put it, but it's obvious. The Democratic Party base is going to be suppressed if he is the nominee, much like it was with Hillary Clinton. Joe Biden does not excite people, much like Hillary Clinton did not excite people. This is the problem. Trump's base will come out regardless. The Democratic base will not come out regardless. You have to excite the base with a bold candidate. How have people not learned this already from 2016? So, yeah, I don't know. Let me just go to some reactions here. I'm bothered that Biden still has support from anybody, let alone is leading many of the polls still. How? Are you people watching anything that this man is doing? It's unbelievable. Let me go to some reactions here from this climate town hall. This from The Nation. Joe Biden doesn't sound very serious about the climate crisis. CNN's town hall on the climate crisis was a good moment for activists and a rough one for the Democratic frontrunner. And this from Vox, calling Joe Biden one of the losers of the night, saying, compared to Warren and Sanders, the former vice president and current Democratic frontrunner didn't offer a clear vision on climate. Biden gave long and often rambling answers about his climate plan, noting that climate groups gave it a B+ or beyond. He declined to join some of his opponents in supporting a nationwide ban on fracking. And that bloody eye. I mean, okay. I hope that's not serious, but yeah, I don't know. It's just the perfect physical representation of Joe Biden's performance, as the week points out here. Joe Biden's bloody eye was the perfect metaphor for his disastrous CNN climate town hall. And that's even apart from the lie, the huge lie that he gave in that town hall. I mean, one of many lies, but I covered it in another video where Joe Biden said, "Oh, I'm not going to a big fundraiser hosted by an oil executive," when in fact he is. So he just completely lied. This man, I mean, apart from obviously not representing the average person, obviously having a history of being on the side of corporations and big donors, I mean, his platform that is weak and doesn't excite anybody, he himself, his performances are just horrible. How can this guy possibly lead any longer? I mean, he continues to lose support in polling. We will see what the polls look like come next year and you know, when the voting actually starts. But as it stands now, you have to inform your friends and family that still support this man. This guy is falling apart. Hillary Clinton was actually a better candidate than Joe Biden is, which does not speak well for an election. So if Hillary Clinton was more put together than Joe Biden is, and clearly I think she was, even if you don't agree with her platform or her history, at least, you know, in terms of delivery, in terms of being a person that is able to form sentences, like sometimes I'm failing at right now in this video. But Hillary clearly was a better candidate. So that does not speak well for Joe Biden. You have to tell your friends and family, this man cannot be the nominee.